Okay, there's a lot of bad reviews about Madame Web being slung around right now, so I decided I needed to watch this movie to see if people are just spinning it that way or if they really want to squash this movie like a common household spider. The movie stars Dakota Johnson as Madame Web, who's a Marvel Spider-Man universe character that I knew nothing about. But luckily, you won't really need to know anything about her backstory or origin in order to watch this movie. I just want to say real quick though, starting out, that I thought Dakota was a terrible choice for the main character because I've always felt that she sounds as monotone and bland when she acts as her mother did back in the day.
And how long were you with this significant other?
For about a year, but I should have moved out after a week.
Alright, back to the review. So she starts out as Cassie Webb, and yes, that's her real name in the movie, who is a paramedic starting to have deja vu-like visions of the future which she can't explain. As it turns out, back when her mother was pregnant with Cassie, she was trying to track down this rare spider in the Amazon rainforest with magical powers. The spider bit her mom, and the rest of course you can obviously piece together. It turns out that there's another man named Ezekiel at this time running around town with the same superpowers as Cassie, who's trying to murder 3 teenage girls because he had a vision of them killing him in the future. Cassie takes it upon herself to rescue these girls as she realizes that perhaps they're an important part of everything that's going on around her. Now, in principle, all of this sounds pretty interesting for a movie, except for the fact that there's so much bad acting and there's inconsistencies in the story, plot holes, and unrealistic things that happen just to try to make this terrible storyline make sense, and that is just too hard to overlook. And yes, I know it's a superhero movie and they're supposed to be unrealistic, but these things just detracted from the movie far too much. Now, in principle, all of this sounds pretty interesting for a movie, except for the fact that there's just so much bad acting, inconsistencies with the story, plot holes, and unrealistic things that happen just to make the terrible storyline make sense, and it's just too hard to overlook. And obviously this is a superhero movie, and they're made to be unrealistic, but these things just detracted from the movie far too much. Since Madame Web can see into the future and she's able to change the outcome of what really happened, my random rating for this movie would be just to ask how many times would the producers of this movie have had to have had the same vision of the outcome of this movie before they realized it would always be a crappy movie unless they put in better actors, better writers, and fill those plot holes. It only took me one time watching it to realize that this movie was probably as bad on paper as it was on screen. If you found this review to be helpful in deciding whether or not to watch this movie, please give us a like and a subscribe.